In 1484, Giovanni Battista was elected Pope of the Catholic Church and took the name Innocent VIII. Once a papal decree could unite all Christians to liberate Jerusalem, but his time was different, and the challenges were immense. The Ottomans had occupied Christian lands in Eastern Europe and were steadily advancing. The Pope's efforts to raise a united army and gather financial support from the Holy Roman Empire, France, Spain, and England went nowhere. The Church had lost much of its authority among the powerful. To fill empty coffers, the Church had to sell important positions like cardinals and bishoprics. Meanwhile, the Pope's relatives and high-ranking clergy often claimed these positions for themselves. Many clerics lived lavish lives and even had illegitimate children. All these factors combined to erode public trust in the Church. People no longer obeyed its authority completely. Various sects emerged, promoting a personal faith outside the control of the Church. On top of this, famine, disease, and natural disasters were increasing, and the Church attributed these catastrophes to the sins of the people. The situation was dire, and Innocent VIII was losing followers day by day. Innocent VIII then resorted to a tactic often used throughout history, creating an enemy to instill fear and unite the people. In 1484, he issued a decree speaking of individuals who had supposedly sold their souls to the devil and were in league with him. According to the Pope, these people were constantly leading the faithful away from the Catholic Church. He claimed that through magic and spells granted by the devil, these individuals were responsible for all kinds of disasters, diseases, famines, and the destruction of crops. Innocent VIII declared that these so-called witches were the cause of suffering and misfortune in Christendom, turning fear into a tool to maintain control and authority. But who were these so-called witches? Pope Innocent VIII's decree was both religious and legal, rather than scientific or physical. It provided no clear criteria for identifying witches. They were simply labeled as allies of the devil, agents of corruption, responsible for death, disease, the destruction of crops, and all misfortunes, acting secretly and anonymously. Additionally, Innocent VIII authorized local courts to identify and punish these individuals. Yet, the decree offered no descriptions of what witches actually look like or how to recognize them, leaving the process vague and open to fear and suspicion. Clergy and inquisitors began interpreting the decree and identifying witches. In Christian belief, Eve was said to have been deceived by the devil and became his ally. Being the first woman created by God, she had also led Adam astray. Because of this story, women were often seen as inherently more susceptible to the devil's influence. As a result, they were frequently at the center of accusations, and the majority of alleged witches were women. This belief shaped centuries of fear and suspicion, making women the primary targets during witch hunts. One group of alleged witches were widows who lived alone. According to the courts of the time, women were considered too weak to live independently without a man. It was feared that the devil might help these women manage their lives on their own, giving them the independence that society believed was unnatural. Women who refused to marry were also included in this category. Society expected women to marry at a young age in order to survive, and those who resisted were often viewed with suspicion, becoming easy targets for accusations of witchcraft. In the Middle Ages, illnesses, misfortune, and punishments were often seen as acts of God. Healing was thought to come through repentance, prayer, and fasting, to soften God's heart and reduce suffering and death. But what happened if someone used herbs or medicines to heal others? People believed that such acts interfered with God's natural plan for healing. Any remedies or cures were often thought to come from the devil, through spells or dark magic. Naturally, healers became targets of the courts, and if a healer was a woman, she was almost automatically considered a witch. This belief turned ordinary acts of care and medicine into accusations of witchcraft, fueling fear and persecution. One of the most bizarre beliefs among people close to the church was that when someone made a pact with the devil would leave a mark on their body, a sign of the devil, Large or unusual moles were considered evidence of this mark, even if they were present from birth. In inquisitorial courts, a strange test was used. They would prick these moles with a needle. If no blood appeared, or if the person did not feel pain, it was taken as undeniable proof that the individual was in league with the devil. Such practices turned ordinary physical traits into evidence of witchcraft, fueling fear and superstition throughout society. People who engaged in unusual activities were also considered witches. For example, those who went out at night, or sects that gathered for special prayers and rituals, were all labeled as witches. In reality, through these accusations, the Catholic Church achieved one of its goals: suppressing sects that had separated from the Church. By branding these groups as practitioners of witchcraft, the Church maintained control and discouraged dissent. The trials eventually reached a point where accusations and rumors were enough to bring someone to court. For example, if a woman walked past a field and, a few hours later, a cow died, this could be reported to the court. The woman would then be summoned for questioning and investigation, simply based on suspicion and hearsay. Such practices turned everyday events into grounds for fear, punishment, and persecution, making the witch hunts even more terrifying for ordinary people. In 1487, the book Malleus Maleficarum, or The Hammer of Witches, was published by Heinrich Kramer and Jakob Sprenger. It outlined the principles for identifying witches and became a guide for many inquisitors. While much of its content might seem laughable today, at the time a large portion of the population believed it wholeheartedly. The book fueled fear, suspicion, and the persecution of countless people, especially women, reinforcing the power of the Church and the courts during the witch hunts. Accusations often began with secret reports from neighbors, relatives, or personal enemies. Even having a strange dream or feeling envy could be enough to spark an accusation. At night, inquisitors would enter the accused person's home, arrest them, and completely sever their connection to family without revealing who had made the accusation. Interrogations involved extreme psychological and physical pressure. The inventors of torture devices and methods during this era were undeniably skilled, but one can't help but wonder how the world might have been different if their talents had been used for more constructive purposes. Victims endured horrific methods: burning of limbs, being stretched by ropes, the infamous nail chair, and constant water forced into the mouth and throat. In many cases, the unbearable pain forced individuals to confess to pacts with the devil. Tragically, such confessions, obtained under torture, were considered fully valid in court. The severity of punishments often depended on the accused person's cooperation. If someone confessed early, they might receive a lighter sentence. The mildest punishments could include public penance, such as wearing a shameful garment through the streets. But harsher sentences were common as well: life imprisonment, exile, or even execution by burning in the public square. This system of variable punishments created both fear and incentive, forcing many to confess simply to avoid the most extreme consequences. This dark chapter of European history lasted for nearly 200 years. Estimates of the number of people killed vary widely, ranging from 60,000 to several hundred thousand, with 70 to 80% of the victims being women. What is clear, however, is that religious prejudices and the perception of certain people as saints blinded people's judgment. These beliefs drove actions that, today, are often seen as shocking and even ridiculous. By the way, what's happening in today's society that people centuries from now will look back on and laugh at? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining us. Friends, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned.